New hope for the more than 5 million Americans who suffer from non-valvular atrial fibrillation, or AF. It's an irregular heartbeat that can lead to stroke. While they may benefit from a new treatment alternative to long-term drug therapy. And here to explain is Dr. Saibal Kar. He's an interventional cardiologist and director of interventional cardiac research at the Cedars-Sinai Heart Institute. So, doctor, what are some of the challenges of long-term treatment with blood thinners like Warfarin? How important is it for certain patients to have a non-pharmaceutical option?
So atrial fibrillation is one of the commonest cardiac problems, and one of the major complications associated with atrial fibrillation is stroke. And the method that people prevent strokes is by giving patients long-term blood thinners such as Warfarin. These drugs are effective. However, one of the problems that they cause is bleeding. And this bleeding risk is lifelong. So there are certain patients who cannot take these blood thinners or who have problems with blood thinners, and it's therefore there is a need for a non-pharmacological approach. One such non-pharmacological approach is the Watchman left atrial appendage occluder. The Watchman left atrial appendage occluder is the first of its kind device that has been approved by the FDA for the prevention of stroke in patients with non-valvular atrial fibrillation. And what happens is this device is like a little umbrella. It can be threaded up through a small tube placed through the groin right up to the heart, and it occludes the little pouch in the heart where the clots form. And so the patients have decreased the risk of stroke because the clots cannot come out of the pouch, and at the same time they don't have to be on long-term blood thinners, so they reduce the risk of stroke.
Now, what do patients stand to benefit most from this new device?
We've noticed that about 40% of patients, that means it's a large number, it's over 2 million people, cannot take long-term blood thinners for various reasons. We feel these are the groups of patients who would actually benefit the most, because these are the people who are not taking their medications, are subjecting themselves to the risk of stroke, and these people will benefit the most by actually having this procedure.
Are there any risks associated with the device or the procedure getting the device implanted?
So like all cardiac procedure, there's a small but definite risk of the procedure. But the risk is usually upfront, that occurs around the procedure time in the first few days, but there's no long-term side effects from this procedure. One of the common complications of the procedure is bleeding around the groin or sometimes bleeding around the heart, and most of these can be tackled in the operation room. The procedure is done through a very small incision in the groin. The procedure takes about an hour long, and the patients go home the next morning.
Tell us, if you can, and we have just a couple seconds left, about successful implantations and how it's worked so far.
Well, this procedure is highly successful. Actually, the procedure success now is up to 95%. And this has been steady for the last 1,000 implants. So we think it's a very successful procedure done in experienced centers by experienced people.
Doctor, thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about this breakthrough treatment option for AF patients, you can check out the website on your screen.